Welcome back. You're watching the Press Club with me, Kendall Burton, and my co-host Earl Boske. Let's shift our focus to the Voice headline. I know you touched on it also in the nationwide newspaper. February declared Action Month against Zika. National Health Security Committee makes Zika a top priority. I'm told, I'm not sure in the papers, I'm not, even though you can't see it too clearly. And Zika fears for tourism, some bookings already cancelled. The Voice newspaper article by Michael George. We also have some material inside referring to the OECS announcement this week that the ministers of health across the region, the sub-region, have decided to a harmonized approach to tackling Zika. Obviously, as the Cabinet Secretary points out in the Voice article, the concern for the tourism sector is high. Obviously, people have begun cancelling their vacations, whether it is to Brazil, where we have a spike in the cases of microcephaly. By the way, did you hear the story coming out of Barbados this week? That a doctor over there is questioning whether there's really a link between microcephaly and Zika.
You'll find there's never uniformity in the world of science.
Yeah, but there's a lot of fear out there, and it's interesting because as I was reading
when
this
I heard
morning,
it, I said he should go to Brazil.
Yeah, it's a she.
A she.
But I was thinking to myself, did we get this much attention? Did we get this much media coverage and reaction to dengue and chikungunya?
No, we didn't, and I think that one of the precise reasons why we're having so much attention paid to it is because the World Health Organization decided it is not going to be caught unprepared, as in the case of Ebola, and they decided to, as we say, take in front. And as Margaret Chan, the Director General of the World Health Organization, said last week in announcing Monday's meeting to elevate the Zika threat to one of a global concern, of a global threat. Initially, she said that the fear of the international community is the spread of Zika from the Latin American and Caribbean hemisphere, the Americas, to Asia and Africa. And she explained that the reason was because with the link to microcephaly, even though it's still not totally understood, the fact is that thousands of babies have been born with small heads and damaged brains, and the only one thing, one common denominator is that they all had Zika. And she was saying that since Zika affects pregnant mothers and can be deadly at worst and life sentence, with brain damage in the other sense, then they didn't want it to go to Asia and Africa because, as she explained, Asia and Africa have the highest levels of population growth. However, at the conference where they were discussing the elevation of the Zika to a world threat, during that conference, the United States Centers for Disease Control introduced the discovery in at least 2 cases in the United States that Zika is spread by sex, through sexual intercourse. Because somewhere in Texas, somebody had, they don't normally give any gender or type of information, but one victim had got it from a partner who had traveled to a place where Zika, and that changed the tone. It upped the ante a bit more because what Dr. Chan, the WHO, as well as the PAHO, Pan American Health Organization, which covers the Caribbean as well, what they were saying that, hello, this goes beyond just pregnant mothers. If it is spread by sex, then no country in the world is safe. So what the World Health Organization is asking for $8 million US dollars to start off an international campaign. The Caribbean is falling in line. Jamaica has had one case, and they're denying whether people are, the effect of Zika on tourism is something that all of the Caribbean are looking at. You've had the situation where St. Lucia was advertised as one of 3 places in the Caribbean. Anybody who want to run away from Zika could go to St. Lucia, the Bahamas, the Cayman Islands, and Jamaica. But then as soon as the report came out, one case was identified in Jamaica. So only St. Lucia, the Bahamas, and this third country are the only 3 left being advertised by one travel agency as a Zika-free. But our CMO has pointed out it's just a matter of time. So, but what is beginning to happen is that it is affecting tourism. There are cancellations.
Absolutely.
There was this other interesting story of a Canadian traveler, pregnant mother who was due to come to St. Lucia. She wanted to cancel her trip. The airline didn't want to, but the airline was forced when she went on the internet, and they started to get a bad face. I think, however, that while we have every reason to be concerned about Zika coming to or leaving St. Lucia through tourism. And tourism, we have to remember, is not only the people who come on ships and planes from outside the Caribbean, but tourism also involves St. Lucians going to Martinique. Barbadians coming to St. Lucia. Tourism, Caribbean people traveling between Caribbean islands are also tourists and visitors. And therefore, when we talk about the tourism industry, we also have to see that we're not only talking about visitors to the Caribbean, but Caribbean people moving around the Caribbean. Because if it is moving from person to person, diseases have no respect for color of skin.
Yeah, but quite apart from all of that, we've heard from the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association, we've heard from PAHO, CAFA, the World Health Organization, the local Ministry of Health, the CMO. The focus has been on presenting a face for St. Lucia that we are prepared. We have all the systems in place. Our medical officials or medical staff have been trained. They've received the training in diagnosing and managing the Zika virus. We have all the systems in place to keep it out. But it's important, like maybe that's where the media comes in as well. It's important for the regular citizen to understand that you have a very important role to play in all of this. The most important, because regardless of what systems are put in place, if people do not rid their surroundings of the breeding grounds, all of that is negated. All that is for nil. So the point has been made by the chairman of the OECS Commission, the Prime Minister of Grenada, and it has been raised by the CAFO officials as well, that the importance of the media, the importance of the communications units in the Ministries of Health to get that message across, to the ordinary St. Lucian, the ordinary Grenadian OECS citizen. We have a role to play in
and there are things that we can do. There are, I've seen CAFO put out, but I haven't really seen and heard it repeated sufficiently or at all, that there are things we can do quite apart from cleaning our surroundings. We could plant lemongrass and basil or basil.
Yeah, I heard you talking about that.
Because these are things that are mosquito repellent. They keep mosquitoes away. Peppermint leaf, is a proper repellent if you're bit by a mosquito, to wipe it. So these are things that people outside of the urban areas would quickly grab onto because they easily have it around, they easily have access to it. The whole question of the use of repellents, the type of repellents to use, because there is a difference in whether you use the regular repellent or another. So and in order for us to give that message, Kendall, we have to know it and understand it ourselves. So it is up to us to do some more research about how to fight and how to resist the Zika. And the point back to the tourism point, I support one of the local officials was making that point. I'm not sure if it was Nahum Jabatis or whoever, but the point that when we talk about ensuring that we keep Zika away from our borders for fear of how it affects our tourism industry. That has to be a side point to the fact that we are safeguarding St. Lucians in St. Lucia and protecting first and foremost St. Lucians living in St. Lucia by insisting that we do what we have to do to protect ourselves before we talk about, and it's not that it's not important. I mean, for the Ebola scare, a particular unit was built, or units were built around the country just in case we got our first case. What's happening to those units now? Are they still there? So while we have to be able to say, yes, we have enough hospital beds and we have the infrastructure to be able to address a Zika virus, at the same time, no country can be prepared, sufficiently prepared. Brazil is 6 months away from the Olympics. And, you know, they are saying, please come, 10,000 athletes, come with your repellents. You know, we'll see how best. They're arguing that it's going to be winter time, and that's the time when mosquitoes are not going to be around. I'm not sure to what extent that is going to convince, you know, people that they should come. So that we can say, yes, we're prepared if a tourist ship pulls in, you know, with a bunch of people with Zika and it can't leave. We'll have to, should we be treating them on board? Should we be taking them to the hospital?
You see, but that's the tricky part, and I guess that's where the importance of surveillance comes in. The CMO has said we've had no confirmed cases. Doesn't mean we have.
Doesn't mean we don't
have.
Yeah,
because it's
just
a mild disease. It's asymptomatic. It doesn't have any outward, you know, symptoms. You very well could have it, whereas you could erupt in a rash and you could have red eyes and all the other symptoms. There are persons who probably have it and don't even know, you know. But I hope people are taking it seriously, even though it's a mild condition. People are taking the warnings and the advisories seriously. I saw
particularly the messages to pregnant women. I think we're underplaying it. Brazil, as a result,
and not just pregnant women, potentially pregnant
and
women.
potentially, Brazil is saying to people, this is not the time to get pregnant. Because over the next year, there are going to be an estimate of between 4 and 5 million cases. A mild estimate, given the speed at which Zika is spreading. So this has accelerated countries to take measures that they have never taken. So Brazil is actually, they're not saying don't have sex, but they're saying make sure, like the guy says in the ad for Street Vibes, you can have sex but be protected in all respects. That's Brazil's message. Trinidad, Jamaica got one case and they're saying, oh no, it's not affecting our tourism, it will not affect our tourism, tourists still come. Trinidad has not had one case, but Trinidad has set an emergency before seeing a case. And I think we need to follow Trinidad's example, and it's good that the governments are coming on board. Like you said, the OECS chairman is saying, let's approach it as a community, and the month of February has been designated as the month to fight Zika across the region.
It's also Valentine's month, so we gotta be very careful.
Yeah, well,
about these Valentine's babies.
Well, mosquitoes will be looking for red blood and Valentine's as well.
I saw something interesting on Facebook. Somebody posted a meme. Two guys sitting at a table outside playing dominoes, I believe, and drinking from mosquito net over them, with the caption, "When you want to chill on the block, but Zika have you threatened." So we'll take a break on that note. When we come back, we'll talk about some other stories making the news. It's Bob Marley's birthday today.
Oh, hip hip hooray. Big up, Bobby.
We'll be right back.